Ready? All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the regular meeting of the Solvang City Council for Monday, April 11th, 2022. I now call the meeting to order at 6:30. Please take the roll, Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Clark.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Infante.
Here.
Councilmember Arona.
Here.
Councilmember Thomas.
Here.
Mayor Urick.
Here. Councilmember Arona, would you lead us in the pledge?
Gladly.
Put your flag and pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Get a drink of water. All right. Thank you all for being here. And this evening we have a few proclamations that I'm supposed to read, so bear with me for the next little bit. First, coming up will be for National Child Abuse Awareness and Prevention Month. Whereas child abuse and neglect are a community condition and problem, and finding solutions depends on involvement among people in the community. And whereas the effects of child abuse and neglect are felt by communities and need to be addressed by the entire community. And whereas San Ynez Valley People Helping People and its Child Abuse Prevention Council partners have been committed to educating this community on child abuse and neglect and are sponsoring several events throughout the month to heighten awareness of abuse in the county of Santa Barbara. These events will provide information and materials that support families to prevent child maltreatment and celebrate people who work with and support children and families. And whereas effective child abuse prevention programs succeed because of partnerships created among social service agencies, schools, youth organizations, religious organizations, civic organizations, law enforcement agencies, the business community, and residents. And whereas all residents should become more aware of the importance of prevention in the community and become involved in supporting parents to raise their children in a safe, nurturing environment. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Mayor Charlie Urick, along with the City Council of the City of Solvang, California, do hereby proclaim April 2022 as National Child Abuse Awareness and Prevention Month in the City of Solvang and call upon all residents, community agencies, religious organizations, businesses, and medical facilities to increase their participation in the effort to prevent child abuse. In witness thereof, I have hereunto set my hand and have caused the official seal of the City of Solvang to be affixed this 11th day of April 2022. Sarah, anyone, Erica, and would you like to say a few words about this or just receive it?
How are you?
Next, we have for the Department of Motor Vehicles Donate Life Month. Whereas organ, eye, tissue, marrow, and blood donations are life-giving acts recognized worldwide as expressions of compassion to those in need, and more than 106,000 individuals nationwide and more than 20,000 in California are currently on the National Organ Transplant waiting list, and on average 17 people die each day while waiting. And whereas the need for donated organs is especially urgent in Hispanic, Latino, and African American communities, also a single individual's donation of the heart, lungs, liver, kidneys, pancreas, and small intestines can save up to 8 lives, and donation of tissue heal the lives of more than 75 others. And whereas organ donors saved more than 40,000 lives last year, the most ever, and any person can register to be an organ, eye, and tissue donor regardless of age or medical conditions, and being a registered donor does not impact the quality of life-saving medical care a person receives in an emergency. And whereas California residents can sign up with the Donate Life California donor registry online at any time by visiting www.donatelifecalifornia.org, or for Spanish speakers, www.donevitacalifornia.org. And whereas California residents can sign up to be an organ, eye, and tissue donor when applying for or renewing their driver's licenses or ID cards at the California Department of Motor Vehicles. And California residents interested in saving a life through living kidney donation may visit www.livingdonationcalifornia.org. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Mayor Charlie Uhrig, along with the City Council of the City of Solvang, California, do hereby proclaim April 2022 as DMV Donate Life Month in the City of Solvang, and in doing so, we encourage all Californians to check yes online or when applying for or renewing their driver's license or ID card at the DMV. There anyone? Yes. Thank you for being here. Thank you. Absolutely.
Thank you guys for having me. My name is Scott Burns. I have a kidney transplant, which is why I'm alive to bore you with these short details. The quick and dirty picture is about, it's 3 times as often, three times more of a chance of someone needing an organ transplant, a patient needing an organ transplant, than someone actually being an organ donor. So we are doing our very best to remind people that they really should get a pink dot on their driver's license. The last study in 2000 showed that 90% of the people that took the study said, yes, I'm in favor of organ donation. That same group, 55% of them had signed up at the DMV. So we're doing our very best, and we appreciate the city for proclaiming this Donate Life Month. I'm alive because of it. I got to see my mom's 104th birthday, which I'm glad that I probably will outlive her, but it's on. So anyway, thank you very much for making this organ donation month. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for being here, and thank you for all you do. On a personal note, I appreciate anybody that would make a donation. My son has had 2 kidney transplants himself, so. Next, we have Sexual Assault Awareness and Prevention Month. Whereas people of all racial, cultural, and economic backgrounds fall victim to sexual assault, sexual violence is widespread and impacts every person in this community. Rape, sexual assault, and sexual harassment harm our community, and statistics show child sexual abuse prevention must be a priority to confront the reality that 1 in 3 women will experience sexual violence in their lifetime, and 1 in 4 men will experience sexual violence in their lifetime. And whereas rape and sexual violence of all kinds continue to occur at an alarming rate, with California having the most reported rapes in the United States, and with the Department of Justice stating that an American is sexually assaulted every 98 seconds in the United States. And whereas emotional and physical scars resulting from sexual violence are often permanent, therefore working together to educate this community about sexual violence prevention, supporting survivors, and speaking out against harmful attitudes and actions is so important. And whereas a coalition of organizations exist which directly confronts this crisis, including North County Rape Crisis and Child Protection Center, law enforcement agencies, churches, healthcare providers, and volunteers from the community that serve these agencies, who are helping in the effort to end sexual assault. And whereas prevention is possible when everyone gets involved in increasing education, awareness, and community involvement, recognizing the compassion and dedication of the individuals involved in this effort, and noting the challenges of the victims, survivors of sexual assault, and their families and friends as they struggle to cope with the reality of sexual violence. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Charlie Uhrig, Mayor, along with the City Council of the City of Solvang, California, do hereby proclaim April 2022 as Sexual Assault Awareness and Prevention Month in the City of Solvang, and in doing so, we urge all Americans to support sexual assault survivors, including when survivors reach out and disclose abuse. Is there anyone here?
Right here. 1, 2, 3.
Good evening, and Council and Mayor, thank you for your support and continued support. I want to bounce back to our child abuse prevention proclamation. I want to thank People Helping People, our partner on CAPC. For a few years, the Rape Crisis Center has planted our pinwheels and done a lot throughout the county of planning it. But this year, because of COVID, we just didn't feel we could do it with enough people. So we thank them for saying we're going to do it, and went and put our pinwheels out. And we've planted in Lompoc and Santa Maria. We planted, just for reference, we planted 333. That's 1 in 5 investigations in the Santa Maria Valley, and 167 in Santa Maria, or in Solvang and in Lompoc. Again, 1 in 5 child abuse investigations that CWS did. So calculate that out. And since everyone's back into normal-ish life after COVID, we've had more and more increases in those investigations and responses, including sexual assault. I just wanted to, sometimes people are like, oh my God, I've worked at the center for over 25 years, and people are like, I can't believe we have a rape crisis center. But it's something that goes on throughout our county and our community, and I know there are people in this room that have known survivors as well as perpetrators. And that's just the cold hard truth, and it's scary and it's hard to hear. But what I wanted to just say, we came up with a report today, is that back in October through March 2019, we served 172 victims, and then in 2021, 158, and in the last 6 months between October and March of this year, 244. And those are new survivors and victims that have sought services from our agency serving the North County. And we are truly in North County, from the Gaviota Tunnel to the bridge. And a lot of those are children of investigations that we've gone out on. And I know you're well aware of the situation. It's a silent epidemic that has been here forever. It's not something you hear on the news, because the reality of it is that we go to the hospital and collect evidence from an average of 80 survivors every year that you're never going to hear about. And I'm going to end it on this note, is to, again, while I thank your support and awareness, it's hard to talk about, but our agency is the ones that are there. While the law enforcement is there to take an investigation, nurses are there to take DNA or other samplings, the district attorney is there to ask for another interview. Our agency is simply there. We don't take anything. We take their hand and we help find a way towards healing. And we thank you for your support and be able to do that in order to end what truly affects everyone. So thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you. Yep. Thank you for what you do. All right, and then Fair Housing Month. Whereas the Fair Housing Act, enacted on April 11th, 1968, enshrined into federal law the goal of eliminating racial segregation and ending housing discrimination in the United States. And whereas the Fair Housing Act prohibits discrimination in housing based on race, color, religion, sex, familial status, national origin, and disability, and commits recipients of federal funding to affirmatively further fair housing in their communities. And whereas the City of Solvang is committed to the mission and intent of Congress to provide fair and equal housing opportunities for all. And whereas our social fabric, the economy, health, and environment are strengthened in diverse, inclusive communities. And whereas more than 50 years after the passage of the Fair Housing Act, discrimination persists and many communities remain segregated. And whereas acts of housing discrimination and barriers to equal housing opportunity are repugnant to a common sense of decency and fairness. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Charlie Yurt, Mayor, along with the City Council of the City of Solvang, California, do hereby proclaim April 2022 as Fair Housing Month in the City of Solvang as an inclusive community committed to fair housing and to promote to promoting appropriate activities by private and public entities to provide and advocate for equal housing opportunities for all residents and prospective residents of the city of Solvang. Is there,
April's a busy month, I'm gonna let you guys get to your business. Oh. Thank you.
all right. Sorry, need to get a drink of water. This is how I felt at the Dr. Seuss Day the other day. This is a proclamation that was just added in, and it's for Lieutenant Jeffrey D. Green. It's an appreciation of service. My former boss. Whereas Jeffrey D. Green began his career with the Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Office as a corrections officer in June of 1999, and whereas he applied for a position of deputy sheriff and was selected to attend a law enforcement academy, and whereas he graduated from the Allen Hancock College Law Enforcement Academy in June of 2001, and whereas he began working the Solvang Central Stations as a patrol deputy from February of 2002 through May of 2005, and whereas he was promoted to senior deputy and worked the Solvang Central Stations from November of 2008 through October of 2011, and whereas he was promoted to sergeant and supervised the Solvang Central Stations from March of 2013 to August of 2015, and whereas he was promoted to lieutenant and commanded the Solvang Central Stations as Solvang Police Chief from April of 2020 through April of 2022. Now therefore be it resolved on this day, April 11, 2022, that I, Mayor Charlie Yerg, on behalf of the Solvang City Council and a grateful community, hate when that happens, do bestow this proclamation of appreciation for exemplary service from the city of Solvang to our police chief, Lieutenant Jeffrey D. Green.
You call it Green Day.
One, two, three. One more. One, two, three.
Yeah. You want me to stick down to, you got more of these?
Oh, yeah, do the introduction.
Well, thank you. That was very touching, Charlie. I appreciate it, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate that. So this has been a very interesting couple of years as I'm getting along in my career and seeing Senior Deputy Yerg retire and being the mayor of Solvang. It all seems to come together. So believe me, the feeling's mutual. So I appreciate it. Thank you very much. I've enjoyed working with Solvang, and I'm not that far away. I'm just down the street. So, and I'm always a phone call away if you guys need anything. But I've appreciated being here. I kind of feel, I actually met with retired Lieutenant O'Grady today briefly, and we were talking about things, and I said, you know, the 2 years, I mean, they were kind of long, not gonna lie, not long, not, obviously COVID, right? So I said, you know, I kind of feel like I became the COVID lieutenant, like, people didn't really get to see me, we didn't do as many events, obviously, and all that, so I didn't get to kind of do the fun stuff that Eddie got to do, or Sean, so, anyway, it was a pleasure being here, and I thank you. And, as with all things, somebody has to take my place, so at this time, I'd like to go ahead and introduce Lieutenant Garrett Tesla. He's coming in, and he'll be taking my spot, and I think you guys will be just fine, so.
Mayor Yerg and esteemed council, and everybody here in attendance today. Thank you for the warm welcome I've received to this point. I've been in place for a week now, and rather than bore you with my resume, which I'll do in person at some point, but I'll tell you a story about why I'm excited to be back here. So I was a sergeant before this and in a very variety of assignments, but I came out of Central Stations here. My first day as a sergeant here, I was walking to El Rancho and someone flagged me down and said, "Sarge, Sarge, Sarge," and I stopped and talked to them, and they introduced themselves, and they knew that I was the new sergeant here. I don't know how, they weren't connected to the department anyway, but they just knew that I was the new guy in town, and they wanted to make me feel welcome. And I always tell that story when I talk to people about what it's like to work in Solvang in the San Ynez Valley. And on my first day as a lieutenant, I'm walking into New Frontiers, I don't know what's with me in grocery stores, but get flagged down by someone else who's like, sir, you must be the new lieutenant in town, welcome. So it's with that kind of population that I know makes your city great, makes this valley great. And I'm excited to work with those people again because we are, our population is what makes us so amazing. And with that, I'll leave it there for now, but just thank you all for your warm welcome, and I look forward to working with each of you. I get to do the fun stuff now that Jeff is out of the way and COVID restrictions have been lifted, so I look forward to doing all the fun stuff with you.
He was such a hindrance.
He was, such a drag. So, thank you all very much.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you. Yeah.
And then lastly, we do have one, and I will let our city manager, Zena, handle this one.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I would like to call out Dan Christensen to congratulate her on 15 years plus with the City of Solvang, and unfortunately also say goodbye to Dan shortly here. So, Dan, if you would come up.
What?
So, let's come up here first. So Diane has been with the City of Solvang for actually over 16 years now, but we would like to make sure that Diane does get our 15-year award for all of her years with the City of Solvang. Diane spent most of her time with the city in the building department as the building technician, and has recently joined us on the side of administration, which I also have had an opportunity to personally get to know Diane a lot better, and very much enjoyed. Diane is definitely a walking encyclopedia of everything you need to know about Solvang, being a native Solvang person. So she has promised me that I can still text her, call her, and find out anything I know about anybody in Solvang. So that stands out there. So Diane, congratulations with your 15 years. Diane is departing with us this week. She has decided to take on another venue. Going back to the building career path, but she will definitely be missed by the City of Solvang.
Thank you.
You want to say a few words? Or?
Just thank you for having me back. It's been a pleasure being part of the city. I can't believe you pulled this off. But no, I really do. I love the city, and it will be hard to be gone. But I have promised to be a resource always. I do wish the city continued success.
Thank you.
Picture. Photo up.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. Vertical 1, 2, 3.
Thank you, Diane.
Thank you.
I concur, you will be missed. All right. Now we move on to public communications. Madam Clerk, would you please read the admonition?
The council welcomes your input. At this time, you may address the council on items not on the agenda and consent agenda. Time limit is 3 minutes. We will start with in-person public comments first.
So I have one speaker slip right now, and probably that might be all we might have time for.
We do
If
have
we,
some.
depending on how long these are gonna go, because we have to go to something else right at 7, so. Jennifer, Sony?
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be here. Firstly, what I wanted to state is I wanted to thank all of you from the bottom of my heart. for what the city has done for my business, and I would hopefully believe others. When you gave us all the encroachment permits during COVID that allowed each and every one of us to stay in business and have a successful outcome. Without that, I don't know that I would be here today. Along with that, beyond, since those have been revoked, I do want to draw one other point to all of your attention, which seemed to be a matter of conflict on where we were headed on the city of Solvang. It's the Danish capital. I understand what went on Copenhagen and some of the other areas in the city that certainly was not aesthetically pleasing to myself, and I know to you and many others. However, I do believe that we do have the opportunity to move forward in the future on how we want the city to be and viewed. On my way one evening, going to my car, I heard one lady roll down her window and ask a worker. She was saying, "Where is the cobblestone and the historical look that is very European to Solvang? I want to see it." And what did he say? "This is it. This is Copenhagen." And she said, "I thought we would have this European look, the seating areas, the walking areas." And he said, "No, this is it." And she said, "Is there another street?" He said, "No, Copenhagen and then Alice saw." What she did, she quickly rolled up her window and drove away. I say this is because we have in our hands, each and every one of you, the opportunity to evaluate what we want to do. Not as we've had in COVID, but what, even if it's on a small scope, to continue what we advertise as the Danish capital of America, to take it to the next step. That would be my wish for each and every one of us to evaluate and to think about strongly. Once again, thank you very much. I appreciate what you've done for my business. And that's truly from the bottom of my heart. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Do we want to we'll hold on to the public comments and maybe just go right into,
It's close enough.
I think it's close enough.
So we go to item number 5.
We need to make a motion, or just go right directly to 5.
You can go ahead and I'll make a motion just so that it's clear that it's being taken before the other items, but it does have a time set specifically for 7 p.m.
Is there a motion to move item number 5 up to basically right now?
I'll move that we move item number 5 up to the current position so we can talk to it now.
And
second.
roll call, please.
Councilmember Clark?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Infante?
Yes?
Councilmember Rona?
Yes.
Councilmember Thomas?
Yes.
Mayor Urick?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
All right. Will there be a staff report?
Would you like to read the item?
This is a public hearing to consider second reading and adoption by title only of ordinance number 22-0356 of the City Council of the City of Solvang, California, adding a new chapter 1.12 to the Solvang Municipal Code to change the system of elections for members of the City Council from at-large system to by-district system, and adopting a map describing the boundaries and identifying election sequencing for each electoral district. The recommendation is to open the public hearing, take public testimony, close the public hearing, and adopt ordinance number 22-0356, final district map selection and election sequence for each electoral district.
So we just opened right?
So,
Or is there a staff
I'll
report?
just introduce really quickly, and we do have the consultant with us online today in case there's any final questions, but this is essentially the last step in transitioning from at-large election system to elections by district. There were 3 hearings held before the district, or the maps that were developed, and then subsequently another 2 hearings on the draft maps, which resulted in the current map, which you selected on March 28th, which is the orange clockwise. You also did select the sequencing of the elections, as is stated in the resolution. The first hearing of the ordinance was held on March 28th, and today is the final second hearing of the ordinance, which will be your final adoption if you adopt this ordinance moving forward with the elections by district.
Sounds good. So with that, I'll open up for public hearing. And is there anyone, I do not have any speaker slips on this particular item. So is there anyone in-house wishing to make a comment or any suggestions on what has been proposed as far as the districts going forward? See none. Bring it back to Zoom, and I see one hand raised. Looks like R. Knight.
This hand has been raised since the beginning of the meeting.
Oh,
Hello?
oh, hello.
Knight?
Yes,
No, I don't have anything to say on this. This is the first time that I would be addressing council. I had a 3-minute statement, I think, that would come under public comments.
okay. You
And
have your hand raised on our sides, just so it just looked like you were wanting to speak. I'll make note of that when we come back to that part.
Okay, when is public comments coming, when are we coming back to that? Do you know?
Hopefully soon.
Right after the
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, just stay on, appreciate it.
Sure.
Is there anyone else on Zoom right now or on the phone wishing to make any comments on, I guess, Plan Orange clockwise? Seeing none, bring it back for council comment. Public hearing is closed. Just make it that. And is there any discussion on this particular item with anybody from council? Final thoughts? Is there a motion to adopt the select map and the reading? Make a motion.
I'll move that we accept orange clockwise map for voting for council members by district.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Is there a roll call?
And just for clarification, that is the second reading of the ordinance with that option. That's what I understood, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
We had a second. Roll call, please, sorry.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Infante,
Yes.
Councilmember Arona,
Yes.
Councilmember Thomas.
Yes.
Mayor Euring.
Yes,
Motion passes 5-0.
all right. We don't need to do the public here, we can go back to public comment now?
Yes.
All right. Now, moving back to public comment. Is there anyone else wishing to speak that I didn't have a public or a speaker slip for, but anyone that wishing to have any comment for any items that are either on the consent agenda or not on the agenda, the regular agenda? Seeing none here, we'll move it back to Zoom, and R. Knight, I believe this might be where you're up.
All right, thank you. I've prepared a statement, so I'm hoping that we have this all timed for 3 minutes. Thank you. My name is Rebecca Knight, and my husband and I have been homeowners on Viborg Road in Solvang since 2015. I have read the Associated Transportation Engineers study dated August 9th, 2019, the review of existing vehicle speeds, traffic volumes, and traffic controls, and traffic calming recommendations for the city of Solvang collector streets. And I understand that measures will be taken by the city in phases and that it will take some time to do these things. I appreciate what the city staff is doing to study and mitigate these issues. I understand that one traffic calming measure that will be implemented in the next couple of months on the corridor will be radar feedback signs for speed. This is a step in the right direction. But tonight, I am asking you for law enforcement to monitor and start issuing speeding tickets, because my understanding is that those radar feedback signs will not be put up for another couple of months. But we need help with this immediately. Because the speed limit is 30 miles an hour on Viborg Road, and there are few sidewalks. Pedestrians and bikers need to be safer on the bike lane that was put in, which should be a traffic calming measure, but many motorists are ignoring this, and speed is rampant, especially during commuter times. We have also seen buses from the Chumash Casino on Viborg instead of staying on Route 246, and now the occasional 18-wheeler truck is using this bypass as a route. Also, since other residential roads are 25 miles per hour, I'm asking that the city reduce the speed on Viborg to 25 as well, as soon as possible. In conclusion, I respectfully ask that the residents and pedestrians be given more support immediately to mitigate this problem while we wait for more permanent solutions with regard to traffic calming, specifically on Viborg. If anything, the speed limit should be lowered on Viborg due to its heavier traffic as a result of commuters and tourists using this corridor as a shortcut, especially because several traffic apps are routing them off of Route 246. I can appreciate that our city needs tourists coming through the downtown on Route 246, but Viborg, Fredensborg Canyon Road, and part of Chalk Hill Road are now a dangerous bypass for all. We stand on our property every day and watch what has become a ticking time bomb on the end of our corridor, Viborg Road. And we foresee a catastrophic event that could result in more property damage, personal injury, or worse, loss of life. I welcome any member of council to stand on our property and see for yourself how dangerous Viborg Road has become due to speed. We respectfully ask for help now with the traffic officer and reduction of speed to 25 miles per hour, even before the radar feedback signs go up. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for the comments. Maybe I may address a couple of those right there. Unfortunately, when traffic studies go into play, there's laws that are already applicable in the state that require that if you have people going through and the study finds that over 75% of the people are going over the speed limit or could go under it if it would have been the case. Unfortunately, it wasn't. So that's what triggered having it go from what it was at 25 miles an hour to 30 miles an hour. So unfortunately, without a traffic study again and people actually adhering to the speed, it can't happen just because of the way that the state laws are written here for speeding. What we can suggest though is that we can have our one patrol deputy get out and hopefully they have some LiDAR and they can write some tickets that way. The other suggestion is if you see the Chumash bus going by, if you can catch it on video, please submit those to me because that bus is not supposed to be on there, and then that way we have some proof that they are actually circumnavigating a residential road. The other thing is that if semi-trucks are doing it, the same thing. We can write tickets not just for speeding, but for having commercial vehicles on that residence area from Viborg, from Alamo Pintado all the way over to Chalk Hill, incorporating Fredensborg Canyon in that block area there. So there's already an ordinance in place for that, and then even when you get halfway up Alisal Hill from Eucalyptus, there's a sign also that says no commercial vehicles allowed. So if you see and can get a license, you can submit those and we can write tickets just based on that without even going for speed. And that's sometimes a simpler way to getting some of the larger vehicles off of the residential roads. They can only be there if they actually have business there. So just so you're aware of that, okay?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, council.
Thank you. I'm sorry. Still a deputy sheriff at heart. I could write him if I was in my black and white, however, but I meant the sheriff's department. I know. Can't get that out of my mind. Sorry, folks. I guess it does. And working 4 out of 5 days this week didn't help, so right back at it. Is there any other comments for our public out in Zoom and or in person? I'll just bring it back. Otherwise, we'll just move on to the next item, which would be the city manager's report.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes,
Maybe one more.
one more? Oh,
No?
was that Mr. Patfield? Were you wishing to make a comment?
Tourist?
No? Okay. Sorry. All right, we'll be bringing it back to the city manager's report.
All right, thank you, Mayor. I would like to just continue to remind everybody about the general plan update process and the fact that the next workshop for the housing element, specifically workshop number 2, if we could have my slides up, is now scheduled for May 11th. That's a Wednesday. In the meantime, we will continue to outreach to our community, including Spanish translation as well, if we can have the slides up. We are also continuing to work with GPAC, and we'll be working over the next 6 months or so to complete all of the elements of the general plan update. We have received all of the input except for the last element, for the housing element that we're still working on. And we'll be receiving the last input on May 11th, but we have all of the community input to now move forward with actual development of the elements. The GPAC will be a key group for us to work through those along with the consultant. Once all of those recommendations are completed, all of the elements will be brought for consideration and approval to the Planning Commission and the City Council for final approval as well. Just to remind everybody that Copenhagen Drive is continuing to be reopened. We have cleared out all of the city belongings from those 2 or a block and a half of closure. And we are fully prepared to reopen on April 18th this week. As soon as we get past some of this, a little bit of unexpected wet weather, we'll get the streets stream cleaned and also start the restriping process. At the same time, we are working with businesses that had expanded into private areas as part of the COVID-19 on temporary permits. Just letting them know what the process would be as if they wanted to keep those expansions on permanent basis. Obviously, with expansions on private areas, those businesses, a lot of them have taken over parking that are on private properties. So part of that process would be for them to go through the planning department, which is where we're directing them in application of all of our municipal code and regulations and our requirements for parking and other amenities. Planning department will be able to assist those businesses to direct them as to what their possibilities would be for any permanent extensions. Moving on to advanced calendar, on April 25th, the next meeting, we'll be talking about some short-term solutions for parking before we even move into the next financial plan and the discussions in response to your goals that also address parking. This will be just short-term solution recommendations. We'll also be talking about your policy direction for the wastewater treatment plan phase 3, which is the recycled water component. We purposely want to bring that to you prior to the conversation on the overall preliminary budget so that we can receive policy direction from you before that and be able to program it into our recommendations. On May 9th, we'll have an additional comeback with items that are not for this fiscal year but are for the next financial year development. And those would be the grant funding requests per your policy, which focus on humanitarian services with a focus on senior services. We also have some special events funding requests, which have been historically funded by the City of Soloming for the standing events such as Danish Days and the 4th of July. We'll continue the conversation for special community projects funding requests that span beyond the current fiscal year but into the next fiscal year. And those two projects are your Theater Fest and the Scenery Center. We also have some recommendations for code enforcement program modifications, which would be recommendations to potentially start within current fiscal year before the summer comes around and our busy season, and would also be incorporated based on your direction into the preliminary budget. Now, on May 23rd will be the big night discussing all of the programs for the next 2 years. So those would be the programs for fiscal year 22-24. And that will include discussions for all of our proposed operating programs as well as the capital improvement program. Those will be programmed in response to the major city goals that you had adopted on February 26th, and we'll be aligned with that. At the same time, we continue to explore and work in alignment with your prior direction, your goal to explore the sales tax increase. So we're still working on conducting a poll, and all of that will be coming back to you for your consideration in the summertime in order for you to consider whether you'd like to have that on the ballot for November 2022 election. We also continue to look at options for the business improvement district and continue those conversations with local organizations such as the Chamber of Commerce. Now, just looking a little bit further ahead for June, some of the notable items that would be in front of you will be all of the number of resolutions for the municipal election, which are required items in order for us to hold the November 2022 election in combination with the county consolidated. We'll also be coming back to you with the utilities rates Prop 218 hearing and adoption. And those notices are actually going out to all of the utility consumers this week. In order to align our drought ordinance with proposed new rates, we will also be at the same time coming back to you with some recommendations on amendments to that ordinance. And of course, we'll be looking at presenting to you the final recommendations for fiscal year 2022-24 financial plan based on any direction that you provide us during the preliminary budget review. There will also be a couple of contracts that will need to be potentially considered for an award before the new year starts, as those will be expiring, which will be the marketing contract and visitor center contract as well. And that concludes my presentation for now.
Thank you. Are there any questions of the city manager's report at this time?
I just have one question.
Go ahead.
On tonight's regular business agenda, there's 4 items, and every one of them is asking for tax dollars. But the May 9th grant funding is separate from these, correct?
Correct. So we had still a few items that were outstanding asks for current fiscal year, which is what's in front of you today, versus what would be coming back to you on, or coming forth to you on May 9th would be the asks for the next 2 years or next year.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions? We're moving on to council comments and requests. Are there any council members that have any meeting? Council member, Mayor Pro Tem Infante.
Thank you. Just one thing real quick. The Santa Barbara County Air Pollution Control District had announced they were going to have a burn at the Painted Cave area, if the weather permits it. And as you can tell with the winds, I doubt that it's going to be permitted. But if you see smoke in that area, that is a prescribed burn that is coming up. In addition, the APCD, the Air Pollution Control District, I'm on the board, and each board member is supposed to assign 2 local citizens to help with the Citizens Advisory Council. Mr. Dennis Beebe is here, and he has agreed to be one of those. I am looking for a second person who would be interested in helping with comments about what APCD does for the area, Air Pollution Control District does for the area. So if you are interested, or if you know of somebody that's interested, please contact me. You can get my email off of the website, the city website, and let me know, and I will have APCD's secretary respond to you. Thank you.
And just to clarify, that I don't believe that actually has to be a Solvang resident. It could be anyone in the San Ynez Valley,
That is correct. Thank you.
just for the monitoring that would take place. So anyone that's a resident can help with that. Thank you. I just said it. Anybody else have any comments? Otherwise, I'll get into mine a little bit. All right. Attended an executive Santa Barbara SBCAG executive directors meeting last week. It was basically just to discuss the contract of the Santa Barbara County Association of Governments executive director. And at this time, we're, I guess no comment at this time for how it's gonna go. There's still some discussion on that. I think that was the only meeting that I had related for Solvang here. I did attend on April 1st a couple of fun things that I get to do as mayor, so that's always fun. Dr. Seuss Day in San Ynez, at San Ynez Elementary, got to read. See Erica Flores over there, I know you were one of the readers as well. And I got to read to the 2nd through 6th grade classes, which was really fun. And then after that was over, I jetted over to Solvang School and attended the family picnic day that they had there at my granddaughter. So that was always fun. Wanted to remind everyone that this Thursday, April 14th from 5 to 7, the Chamber has a April Mixer, which will be hosted at Vinland Hotel and Lounge. And so just, they are going to give tours of what they have there at 5 p.m. only, so if anybody is interested in actually seeing what they have and what they've done inside the Vinland, be there at 5 p.m. for that, and this is all open to the public. So also going forward, and maybe Erica might be able to help me with this, but I just wanted to let everyone know that this Saturday, April 16th, People Helping People has their 13th annual Vino de Sueños, which is the wine of dreams. It'll be out at the Tuxedo Barn at Roblar Farm in San Ynez. And is there anything that you care to say, or is that good enough? Maybe the time frame, because I don't know the time frame, Erica.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Thank you for bringing that up. It is our 13th year, really 15 if we count the last 2 that we missed, but 100% of the proceeds go to ensuring that our services reach vineyard and farm workers. We have 12 local vintners that have donated the wine. We have 3 chefs that have donated the food for the night, and we have 14 local artists that are donating are part of the art auction. So it's 2 to 5 out at Roblar Farm, and we would love, we'd love to have you and welcome the community. So just tremendous, and we've already had some really fantastic financial donations, which will ensure that we can meet the need, especially around housing and food.
That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. It's this Saturday.
This Saturday.
Yeah. April 16th. All right, and then moving forward, as far as the food bank, Tuesday, March 29th, there were 195 households served, a total of 769 individuals, 19 coming through for the first time. And last Tuesday, April 5, there were 185 households, 707 individuals, 12 new to the program. So if anybody can help tomorrow, I know that they are also, it's the spring Easter giveaway, so they have a bunch of donated items and special bags to hand out, and they are really looking for some assistance tomorrow during the daytime. So if you can help with that over at Bethania, we'd appreciate it. Moving on to the library. The library has some things going on this week. But just as a reminder that over the weekend of Friday, April 22nd through Monday, April 25th, the library will be closed and they are migrating to a new system. So on Monday, the 25th, you should be able to access the new catalogs, but the libraries will be closed that entire weekend. And as a reminder, tomorrow at Casa Casara Winery, they have a Bring Your Own Book group. It's tomorrow at 6 p.m. And the April title is The Book Woman of Troublesome Creek. And you can get that through the library, or if there's any book, you're welcome to bring your own, as long as it's a book set in Appalachia or America in the 1930s. And then for the children, they have Solvang Library's Book Club for Kids, which is Wednesdays, this coming Wednesday, and the 27th, 4 p.m., and that's online. They will have an in-person on Saturday, April 30th, and the book that they're reading for April is The Birch Bark House. You can sign up online with that or in person for that meeting. And they also have on the 23rd, so I want to mention that, they will have, even though the library itself is closed for checking out books, they will have their big outdoor book sale. So that will be happening from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Saturday, April 23rd. So, and as a reminder, Los Olivos and the San Ynez libraries are now open again on Saturdays. Solvang hours are Tuesday through Saturday from 10 to 5. Los Olivos is open on Saturday from 10 to 1. And San Ynez Library is open from 1 to 4. Then one last thing that I just happened to see, Assembly Member Steve Bennett is going to be participating, and this is open to anyone. It's called the Senior Scam Stopper. It's a virtual seminar. It will be held on Friday, April 22nd from 10 to 11:30. He, along with the Contractor State License Board, California Department of Financial Protection and Innovation, and the California Department of Insurance will be putting on a seminar for the seniors specifically, and it's a scam stopper, and it's a virtual seminar. You can get information by contacting Assembly Member Bennett at assemblymember.bennett@assembly.ca.gov, or you can call his offices, one of which is Santa Barbara at 805-564-1649. There is a RSVP required, and once you do, they will send you the links that you would need to be able to attend that seminar. I think that was all I had for right now. And moving on to item number 4. Madam Clerk, would you please read the consent agenda into the record?
The consent agenda is designed for routine administrative city matters and is approved by roll call vote with one motion. These items are discussed only on the request of council members. Members of the public were afforded an opportunity to speak on consent agenda items during the public communications portion of this agenda. 4A, approve order of agenda as presented. 4B, approve the minutes of the City Council meeting of March 28, 2022. 4C, approve expense report for March 2022. 4D, adopt resolution 221165, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Solvang, California, authorizing remote teleconference meetings of the City of Solvang meeting bodies. Item 4E, pursuant to contract terms, some 30-day contract termination notice to Cogs and Marble, terminating marketing services contract while the city restructures the marketing function per Tourism Advisory Board recommendations and council direction. 4F, approve response to grand jury report titled Keys to Housing the Homeless.
Are there any council members wishing to pull any items or discuss any items from the agenda?
Yes, I'd like to pull 4E, please.
All right. Any other council members wish to pull any items? No? I'll entertain a motion to accept items, the consent agenda with the exception of item E. Is there anyone that would do that?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Madam Clerk, roll call.
Councilmember Clark.
Yes.
Councilmember Infante.
Yes.
Councilmember Arona?
Yes.
Councilmember Thomas?
Yes.
Mayor Yurick?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
All right, then moving back to item 4E. Councilmember Infante, please.
Me, thanks. A couple of points about this particular item. First, I've been contacted a couple times by different people. It needs to be understood by the public, there is two contracts. There's a visitor center contract and there's an events contract. This is addressing the events contract only, not the visitor center, if I'm not mistaken. And as a consequence, we need to be aware of what's going on, because I've heard some, visitor center is not affected by this at all. We saw on the upcoming agenda that we'll be going for a visitor center contract renewal or another bid coming up to be awarded in June. Also, it states in there that the Tourist Advisory Council suggested this cancellation, and that's not true. They did not. And I confirmed that with Max Hamburg today at another event. As a matter of fact, he thinks it's silly to terminate this contract at this point in time when we don't have a replacement for them. The other part of this that's a little bit concerning to me is I got a call from Scott Shoemaker. And he told me that, what I think it was on Tuesday, he talked with the city manager. On Wednesday, we got the agenda that said they wanted to cancel the contract, and he had not been told of it. He found out about it because somebody from the press called him up and wanted an interview about the contract cancellation. That's the rudest damn thing I've heard in a long time, that you want to terminate a contract and you don't contact people and ask them to comment or be here to hear what the presentation is all about. So I think we're doing this entirely incorrectly, for one. Went through the contract and looked at it, and there's a lot of issues with it from our point of view. My point here is that this is inappropriate. I do not think we should be terminating this contract at this point in time. It only goes on through the end of July. And we don't have anybody else to do this. This statement says that we'll have some staff people doing events. I don't know what staff people we have. If we had had staff people in the first place, we wouldn't have hired a contractor. So I think this is, let me put it a different way. I move that this is not passed.
I'll second that.
Is there a roll call?
Councilmember Clark?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Infante?
Yes.
Councilmember Arona?
No.
Councilmember Thomas?
Yes.
Mayor Yurick?
No.
Motion passes 3-2 to not approve the cancellation of the agreement.
I think that sounds right.
But at this point in time, I think it might be necessary to get hold of Cogs and Marble and see if they want to continue, because I'm hearing different things. My feedback has been, it was, multi-sided, let me put it that way. So it may be that they don't want to continue and they want it canceled, but at least we owe them, as the contractor with a signed contract, the opportunity to say, yes, we do, or no, we don't. And I think we should contact them and get a definitive response to that. Thank you.
I think you have some direction there. All right, moving on to item number 6, public hearing. Madam Clerk, would you please read item number 6?
Public hearing to consider the Solvang Skip Mesa Landscape and Lighting Maintenance District and adopt resolution number 22-1166.
So I would like Roger Olds to come up and present, and just to clarify that today is actually not the final second public hearing. Today is actually just an initiation of the process. So the title is more accurately stated in the staff report itself, which would be Solomon Mesa Landscape and Lighting Maintenance District number 2004-1 for fiscal year 22-23, and adopt resolution of initiation and intention. So we will be coming back on May 9th for the actual public hearing, and today you will be, by this resolution, setting that public hearing. With that, I will pass it over to our Public Works Director and City Engineer Roger to present the report. We would have slides up.
Okay, so this, thank you, Zena. So this is the presentation for the Landscape and Lighting Maintenance District resolution of initiation. Solvang Mesa is Skip Mesa, as everybody calls it, is we pay a contractor to maintain the landscaping and the lighting throughout the subdivision. The subdivision is shown here on your slide. There are also some open areas, and there's a detention basin in the Hans Christian Andersen Park, which is also maintained by the contractor. Go on to the next slide. So the assessment process, the first two bullet points are what we are doing now. So we have reviewed the costs and the budget and established a budget for this next year. And what we're seeking is the adoption of the initiation resolution, which is to initiate the preliminary engineer's report. So we've prepared that, and that was in part of your packet. And then to approve the preliminary engineer's report, and then we are setting the public hearing date for May 9th. So we'll post that as a public hearing, and we'll set that public hearing. At that time, upon approval, we'll actually set the assessment. And then moving forward, once we have the public hearing, we adopt the assessment and resolution, and then the assessment engineer coordinates with the county tax assessor's office, and we start assessing on the property tax roll assessment from each property. 169 properties, we collect about $1,300 a year, and we're proposing to keep that steady for this next coming year. And then the funds collected are transferred to the city that we use to pay our contractor and pay for the water and the electricity and everything else to keep the lights on and keep the grass watered and keep things rolling. So go to the next slide. So our recommendation is to keep the assessment consistent, which is $1,296 per parcel. So that's no increase from 21-22. And that will cover the ongoing cost for Brightview to be able to maintain the landscaping, and then also pay all the electrical cost to PG&E. We are looking to do a project that will be covered under the existing capital reserves, and that's to install 2 new streetlights at the just as you enter from Mission onto Skip Mesa Drive. We've had some complaints, it's a little dark. We've had a few folks that live in the area said, hey, can we get some lighting out there? So we just recently signed a contract, initiated that with PG&E, so they're moving forward with the design and we'll install. The cost for that is about $25,000, and which is a lot for 2 lights, but part of the reason is that the service for those lights comes from up top the hill, so they got a trench probably a good 600-700 feet in order to get the power, basically plug into the new streetlights. So again, our current action is to receive public comment and have a council discussion and direction, and then adopt the initiation resolution. And then the next steps, which will be on May 9th, is we open the public hearing, have some additional discussion, close the public hearing, the council discussion and direction, and then we adopt the assessment resolution. So that concludes the staff report, and we're open up to council for any questions.
Any questions of the staff report at this time? Just confirming that the 2 lights are about $25,000?
That's the cost for the entire project.
For the project?
So, yeah, it's, and that was what PG&E came back to us with. And again, the main reason it shouldn't be considered that it's, $1,250 per light. It's a big cost of that is trenching through the, all the way from up top of the hill and trenching that with an electrical conduit all the way down to feed the lights.
How far apart are those lights gonna be down there?
I want to say about 300 feet.
300 feet?
Yeah, it's, they're appropriately spaced to be able to light up the area, light up the pedestrian. There's a sidewalk along there that we want to make sure that folks can be seen as you're walking up for vehicles.
And they do have the shields that protect the night sky?
I'm sure they will. Yeah.
All right,
We'll be working with PG&E on the design for that.
okay. Will we be having that come back to us as well at some point? The design, or is that just gonna get decided?
It's PG&E's, I'm certainly happy to report as far as telling PG&E how to run their operation, and we might not have too much authority, but we can certainly comment, and I can bring it back if you want to see it.
Is there anyone that's interested in seeing what they're gonna look like? No?
No.
I'm not saying we have to make any action, I just,
Or a field trip, maybe.
yeah, let's do a field trip.
We'll certainly provide direction to PG&E to match what's out there.
All right, thank you. So at this time, just take it out for public comment. Is there anyone in-house? Yes, please. If you state your name and where you live.
My name is Denise Alamine, and I live in Skid Mesa, and I care what the lights look like. Well, I'm sure where you live, you care what they look like there. I have been there for 8 years, and I have an ongoing problem with Brightview. They have an excellent contract written up, but they don't follow the contract. We get landscaping periodically at best. The contract is very specific on what we need and what they're going to do, but it's never done, and nobody complains. But me, I do. And they have started to do more, and I do appreciate that, but my money is coming out of my taxes every year, and if we have a contract and it's specific, then it needs to be done. And will be coming. I haven't been coming, but I will be coming because I guess I'm the only one here that cares about Skid Mesa. So, I'll see you guys next meeting. All right? Thank you very much.
Denise, have you made those comments to our Public Works Department?
Oh, yeah. Me and Matt, we're like brothers and sisters now. And he did. Once he got out the hospital, he did have a guy who is doing a better job. I will say that they're doing a lot better maintaining. But, the weeds just take over, and nobody, I understand we have a lot, but I don't think I should have to wait 6 months for it to get, my yard grows bad for 6 months and then they come in. I'm paying something every month, so I feel that my part that I have to pay every month should match the other part that I have to pay every month, but they don't. One side looks bad and my side looks good, so I just have a problem with that.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate
But yeah,
the
you tell
comments.
Matt I said hi on this thing, tell him I said hi.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak on this item? Seeing none, anyone out on, I see a hand raised out there, I can't see a name though. Milliken? Mr. Milliken?
Yeah.
Go right ahead.
All right. The lighting special project was initiated in the prior year as something that at least the majority of the Skid Mesa residents were concerned about, which was the darkness of the intersection down there at Mission and Skid Mesa. And so it's been a multi-year project, and good news is to hear that they're going to get it done. I wasn't aware the way the diagram shows for the location of the lights are currently set. I'm not sure that the lighting is gonna actually reach down to the intersection, area. And I think that was a primary concern, so I don't know whether the light locations are fixed in concrete, so to speak, but it is important to all of us who come up and down, I'm a State Mesa resident, all of us who come up and down the hill, when it's dark, that intersection be lighted adequately, and that was what the special project in the line items was for last year and this year, is that intersection lighting and that, beginning up the hill. So I'd like to, Public Works Director, be clear that part of the lighting gets addressed, and not just that it gets lit up as you travel up the hill up to Peterson. Other than that, it's good to see that the proposal is that we stay at the same level. No comment on the Brightview performance. That's something that can be addressed along the way. And I'm glad to talk to the new Director of Public Works last Friday, just to hear how the ball's getting rolling, and that's good to know. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Would you mind stating your name just for the record, so we have that?
Sure, sorry. Greg Milliken, and I'm a Skip Mesa resident up here on Holmes Park Trail.
Thank you, Mr. Milliken, appreciate it. Roger, would you mind just updating him so he is aware of where those are? Because I know the two dots I saw, but I know they're not down where he's talking about. And that might be another Caltrans issue.
I believe that would be a Caltrans issue. That is a Caltrans intersection. I placed those streetlights based on an approximation from the drawings that I have available that was sent over to PG&E. But I will certainly inquire with Caltrans to see what the availability is to get something lit out there as well. I think that might require a bit more of a project for them, but we can certainly inquire and put a bug in their ear.
All right, thank you, appreciate that. All right, is there any others that wish to speak on this item from the public? I'll look at either here or out on Zoom. I don't see anyone, so we'll bring it back for final comment and a motion. We need to make a motion that we adopt resolution of initiation and intention. I'll make a motion. Might as well, I just said it. So for adopt the resolution of initiation and intention.
I'll second that.
Madam Clerk, would you please take a roll?
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Infante,
Yes.
Councilmember Arona,
Yes.
Councilmember Thomas,
Yes.
Mayor Urick,
Yes.
motion passes 5-0.
And information, I won't be here May 9th for that item.
All right, and then, Madam Clerk, would you please read item number 7 into the agenda?
Public hearing to consider adoption of Resolution 22-1167 for the SB1 Road Maintenance and Rehabilitation Account Project List for fiscal year 2022 to 2023. Open the public hearing, take public testimony, close the public hearing, and adopt the resolution for project list, which identifies the transportation infrastructure, drainage infrastructure, or road maintenance project the city will implement in fiscal year 2022 through 23, utilizing the new SB1 gas tax funding.
This is an annual required report, and our Public Works Director will present.
All right, thank you.
So this is the road maintenance and rehabilitation account presentation for next fiscal year, 22-23. So just a little bit of background. Back in 2017, SB1 was passed, Senate Bill 1, which increased the gas tax for the first time in many years. Increased the gasoline excise tax by 12 cents a gallon and diesel by 20 cents a gallon. And that additional funding funds several different funding programs, state highway maintenance, rail and transit, some grant programs that are highly competitive, but we're trying to get more competitive with. And the RMRA, which is the Road Maintenance and Rehabilitation Account. They also call it the Local Streets and Roads Program. And through that, we are restricted in what we can spend that money on. It's heavily maintenance focused. We're restricted to roadway, drainage, and transportation related projects, but mainly more of a maintenance perspective on that. So there is an annual stipend that we get from these monies that is population based. We are projected in the next fiscal year to receive $125,644, which is up about $9,000 from last year, and that's in addition to the gas tax that we typically receive, which is projected to be about $163,000. So in total, we're about $300,000 is what we would receive from gas tax to spend on our roadways. So this program, we're required to submit a list of projects to the California Transportation Commission, the CTC, and hold a public hearing and get a resolution, and then we got to report annually on how we spent that money. So our list of projects, which was included in your packet, for next year is consistent. If we go to the next slide. So the recommendation is to hold a public hearing, discuss it, and direct staff if you want us to spend the money on a different project. But the project that we've identified and that we've established is on the CIP list for next year, which is the 2022 slurry seal project. And the project design and scope we're not completed at this time, but it's intended, looks like it's the Creekside neighborhood, which was crack sealed last year. So that's in anticipation of a slurry seal. And then it may include some other roadways as we look at the scope. And we're also looking to carry over a slurry seal from our parks, for our parks from this fiscal year over into that project as well. That way, get a slurry seal contractor and get a bigger bang for our buck, the more surface area we get under there. So that's what we're looking to do. So that concludes staff's presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Are there any questions of the staff report? Or any other thoughts on funding?
One question, the amount of funding that you listed at 300-some thousand, I think it was, is that strictly for slurry seal at this point? And is that enough to cover all the slurry seal, or do we have some left?
We have a fund balance in the gas tax that's, as I recall, it's in the 175,000 range. But this in the CIP, the project listed is about 500,000, and that is that's also drawing from monies for Measure A. So we're going to combine Measure A and gas tax monies in order to pay for this slurry seal.
So that will eat up all of the gas tax money.
It will. We'll still have some fund balance left, but for the monies that we receive, it should utilize most of it. Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Are there any other questions? All right, we'll take it out for public comment right now. Is there anyone in the audience? I don't have any speaker slips, so is there anyone in the audience wishing to make a comment on this particular item? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to Zoom. And I only see one person there. Or is that the Cheshire Cat? I think so. It's hard to tell. All right.
You're right.
I know who it is.
One person sitting in the line going, he just called me the Cheshire Cat.
He'll let me know, believe me, he's got my number. Yep. Anyway, bringing it back, nothing for public comment. Is there any final comments before we entertain a motion? No? Entertain a motion then to adopt?
I'll move that we adopt.
That's an easy way.
Second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Councilmember Thomas. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Infante,
Yes.
Councilmember Arona,
Yes.
Councilmember Thomas,
Yes.
Mayor Urek.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
All right. Moving on to regular business. Thank you, Roger. Item number 8, Madam Clerk, would you please read item number 8?
Solvang Festival Theater Funding Request Fiscal Year 21-22. Consider approving funding requests in the amount of $100,000 for Solvang Festival Theater operating expenditures within the current fiscal year and defer consideration of continued funding in the amount of $100,000 for another 2 years to be considered through fiscal year 22 through 24 fiscal plan development. The funding is being sought due to the major renovation of the facility and interruption in operating revenue due to the closure of the facility for a year. The capital improvements to the facility are being funded by community donations.
Is there a staff report?
I'll introduce this item. So as you would recall, the Solvang Festival Theater is currently undergoing major renovations. It's actually, I think, nearing towards the completion of those renovations with a goal to reopen this summer. The total cost of the project because of inflation and the timing has actually gone up to $5.3 million in total. And they have been successful so far in collecting $4.5 million in donations from the community to the state. So they're about $700 in need still to reach the goal, and as you would know that they have approached the council before and have now modified their request for funding from the city of Solvang to potentially help with this renovation project. So the way that the request is in front of you today is for $100,000 for a period of 3 years to really help the Theater Fest with their operating expenditures, including the current year due to the fact that they were closed for a year due to this renovation. So the way that I've kind of split this up, and it's up to you definitely how you consider this, is that they have been requesting for the council consideration for funding sooner than later. So instead of waiting for bringing this request as part of the financial plan development, this item is in front of you to potentially at least consider the first 1/3 of the funding for this project today. We are currently experiencing revenues coming in for both TOT and sales tax above and beyond the levels which we have budgeted. We have been conservative, but frankly, the entire Central Coast is doing very well right now in recovery post-COVID-19 at this point, and so is the city of Solvang. So there is at least additional $100,000 coming in additional revenues to where if you were to consider giving this funding to the Theater Fest, it's obviously you're entirely up to your policy direction, but there wouldn't be an additional draw on the general fund. So that concludes my presentation, and I see that there is members of the Solvang Theater Fest here if there's any questions, so if they have any additional.
Is there any questions of the
Staff?
staff report at this time?
First, if I may, one thing, I don't think it was very clear. It's $100,000 per year for 3 years, so the total ask is $300,000.
Correct.
But we're about to go into a planning session for next year for grant funding. Wouldn't that put $100,000 in this year and then $200,000 to be part of that planning exercise for the next year?
That's how I have proposed that you consider that, just to break it up a little bit.
Thank you.
Any other questions this time? No? Any public comment at this time? I don't have any speaker slips. I know there's a big smile up there, Chris. Couldn't help.
No, I'm the Cheshire Cat. So.
Aha!
Yes.
You are with that grin right now.
Yes. Actually, thank you, council, for considering the request. And I would just merely like to introduce Ann Foxworthy Llewellyn, who is the author of the funding request letter that you have in your notes. And then also Mr. Scott Coe, who is the executive director of the Solvang Theater Fest. Scott could certainly go into detail answering any questions as to why it's so important now as we are in the final stages of finishing the renovation of the theater, that we need to resource to create the additional activity, the additional programs and events aside from PCPA that theater can now so well support. Today was a perfect example, breezy, windy day. Inside that theater, oh, so different than what we've experienced in the past. So we greatly look forward to an expanded calendar of activity in the Theater Fest, unlike what we had before, spring, late fall. And to get those activities for those concerts, for the events, it's a lead-in. It requires funding, it requires staffing and resources. And that's where we've been challenged for the last couple of years, is having the funds necessary to get the schedule loaded, the calendar loaded for the next couple of years of more events and activities that for the community, for the benefit of the arts and entertainment for our community, but for the 40% of theater patrons that come from outside the valley, that do stay in the hotels, that do dine in the restaurants when they come to an event at the Theater Fest. We're ready to go, if we can, to start planning and bringing in those entertainment. I talked more than I meant to, sorry.
One question for you.
Yes.
First off, I love the Theater Fest, I'm all for this, but I noticed that you're putting in new seats and selling your old seats. Have you had any bites yet?
Yes.
We did.
Of course you did.
You have?
In the first day, we actually have.
Come on up. Those seats are from Shea Stadium.
Yeah. They're not from Shea Stadium, they're from Cleveland, and I'm not quite sure what stadium, but we actually had an organization that wanted 50 of them today, so right now we're about at 60, so we're really happy with that. And to mirror what Chris said and what Xenia said, that's right off my notes, that's exactly what we are. We are completely committed, and I am completely tasked with maximizing this new theater, so everybody wins when the theater is complete. Businesses, community, actors, everybody, and we will reestablish all the traditional events that the theater has done throughout the years as well. So we can see it. It's about 94 days away. So we're really excited about that.
I'm 2 of those 10. I got 2 today. Yeah, I did want to let everyone know that that is a fundraiser going on right now for the Theater Fest, and chairs are available for $100 each, and you can come and pick them out if you want. That's what I'm being told. So get a hold of Scott at the Solvang Festival Theater office.
In case you need a couple hundred seats for your backyard.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
All
Mr.
right.
Mayor?
Yes.
We have 3 requests for funding this evening. Would it be appropriate to hear the 3 requests before we make a decision?
Interesting.
Good.
Maybe to the discretion of the mayor as how you would like to hear them, but it may provide you additional information as to the rest of the funding requests and be able to balance out those requests.
How about at least the next one? Because I know that one's a little bit more than the landfill.
That's fine. At least the 2.
So we'll move to item 9, that's what I'm seeing. Is there a staff report on that?
Yes, so this staff report is structured similarly to the Solvang Theater Fest request, to where it's divided into portions that are kind of here and now and need a decision, because we're expecting that the senior center will be turning in an application for processing to planning. And there is also some additional requests that you have seen before back in November of 2021 that we are still working with the senior center in order to present to you along with the next year budget considerations. So the only request that's in front of you today is the waiver of the fee for the development plan for their new building, which is a waiver of $7,900.
Is there any discussion of that report right now from council? I was thinking we had 3, but it's 4 requests, so I'd like to have, let's do item 10 as well. Staff
So-
report.
Thank you. Item number 10 is a request from the Santa Ynez Rotary for the fireworks for this upcoming 4th of July. So even though the 4th of July falls right after the current fiscal year ends, we actually need to fund them in this fiscal year for the upcoming 4th of July. So their total request is for $25,000. Historically, as of lately, the city had been funding them at $10,000. They are requesting this larger donation from the city of Solvang, and also looking at having the city of Solvang becoming essentially a partner to the Solvang Rotary and being named as the event holder at the same time as the Solvang Rotary going forward. This is something that they are proposing as an ongoing request in their hopes and desires, that the city of Solvang would be the grand sponsor, essentially. It does come with some additional benefits, which obviously the city could have a conversation if that's not the type of benefits that you would like to have, but it's a total of $25,000 a year.
All right, we're already there. Go ahead to item number 11.
All right, item number 11 is really the smallest request, but it's coming from the Santa Ynez Pirate Football League. It's a request for a fee waiver. This is the second year that they have requested this fee waiver, which is for the highway banner. The fee would be $450 for display of the banner for 2 weeks. And since the COVID-19, the league has been reporting that they're just having a difficult time collecting enough funds and have requested this for the second year in a row. Last year, the council did approve a waiver of this fee.
All right, is there any council questions regarding any of the 4 requests? Go
Yeah,
ahead.
if I may, one quick question. The Rotary Club Foundation, they want us to put in 25,000. Do we have any idea what their total costs are? I mean, is that 50%, 100%? What percentage is 25,000 of their cost to put that on?
Well, that alone pays for the fireworks. That's how much the fireworks cost, 25,000.
What's the remainder of the funding needed?
In the report, isn't it something like 70,000 to produce the whole?
I wish they were here, but my recollection is 65,000 is what they
I'm here
mentioned. Oh,
representing.
sorry.
Tammy's
Go.
here.
Come on in.
Yay.
Yeah, it's about 60,000, it's around there.
I have a question then. And how much did the ticket revenue bring in?
I don't have that right in front of me. We sell about 5,000 tickets at $10, so there you go. About 50,000.
I think that's what I remembered in the report, about 50,000. Any other questions for any of the entities here regarding, I mean, we have 4 different requests. None?
Was
These
there
are-
an amount on the senior center?
At this point, it's only a waiver of the 7,900 processing fee for planning for the development plan for the new building. The remainder of the request will be presented to you as part of the budget development.
Okay, so it's only the waiver.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
And the same with the waiver only for the YFL.
Yeah.
The 450.
So, any final questions up here? Otherwise, I'll take it out to public comment.
No questions. Comments, yes.
All right, is there any public comment out here on any of these 4 items? Mr. Richardson?
this is gonna seem like a tag team based on what Chris just said. It's a similar situation. I just wanted to remind you that we're still there, and I have a couple of representatives from the senior center. Tom Olmsted, who is the chair of the steering committee, and Ellen Albertoni, who is the executive director. I'd like Tom to come up and give you an update on where we are regarding our construction and our funding. And then Ellen, I'd like her to come up and talk about where we are post-COVID now in our operations, so you're aware of what's going on. But if you're gonna vote yes, maybe we'll all just sit down, huh? Tom?
Good evening, Mayor Uhrig and the City Council. I'm Tom Olmsted, and I'm not a Solvang resident. I'm the co-chair of the Senior Center Capital Campaign Committee, along with Linda Johansson, who is a resident, and Alan Hitt, who is not a resident, but he's a property owner. And we've been at this for, oh gosh, I don't say 3 years, but it's been probably a lot more. Fundraising. And thanks to the generosity of the community, foundations, businesses, individuals, we have raised 2.6 million of our $3 million goal. So with that money in hand, we have actually contracted with an architect, Kevin Bates, architect. He's from Rio Grande, and he's started work. And in parallel, we're interviewing a couple of local contractors for pre-construction services. So we're actually on our way. And the waiver of fee is just a little something I think we talked about last November the 8th to be exact. And it'll help us keep the ball going. And as you all know, the senior population is growing every day. So, and our facility is getting worse every day. So we appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
Ellen?
Thank you very much. I won't take much of your time, but I would like to thank you for the support that you've given us so far, and as you do annually for the senior center. As COVID has not gone away but lifted, it's the senior center has become just so much more vital and alive. We're adding more activities. Today was really wonderful because it's been the largest group of folks that we've had since our COVID restrictions. We had 16 to 17, 15 women and 2 men in our arthritis exercise strength and stretch class, and believe me, they're a rowdy bunch in there. And they were just, the joy goes out the door with them. They keep talking. But my point of this is, you know, we're growing, and even during this whole COVID period, our numbers have increased. And it's been really, really, it's wonderful, it's joyful to have this life back in our community to what I really consider our most important population. So, thank you.
Thank you for all you do, Ellen. Appreciate it. And is there any final public comment? Oh, Brenda, go right ahead.
Thank you, Mayor and Council and City staff. My name is Brenda Messer, and I'm the Vice President of San Ynez Valley Youth Pirate Football League. And I just wanted to thank you for your consideration of waiving our banner fees this year. We're really struggling with fundraising, and we got a late start this year, so anything helps, and so I just wanted to thank you in advance. And it's very nice to see you all.
Thank you, Brenda.
You're welcome.
All right. Is there anyone else in the audience wishing to make any comments? If not, I'll take it out to Zoom. And is there anyone wishing to speak out on Zoom? Seeing none, we'll bring it back for final comments.
I have comments.
Go right ahead.
The only way I can support giving money to the Theater Fest is if I know that they're going to have expanded fall and autumn. We're being asked here tonight for over $350,000. And I don't know what's a month from now, what 5 groups are gonna come to us and ask us for tax dollars. It's not our money. Although I know what the Theater Fest does for bringing people into the valley and filling up beds, and it translates to money. So the only way I can support it is to know that we are going to have an expanded calendar. My opinion on the senior center is that we can do everything we can for the seniors, and I appreciate what they do, and I would be willing to vote yes on that. Brenda, I want to give you a check for $450 today, because I raised every penny for the Santa Ynez Aquatics programs for 4 years. I raised money for pony baseball. I don't think it's the city's job, but people supported me when I was trying to raise money, and I'm gonna give you a check when we leave here tonight for $450, because I don't want the city paying for it. So we'll take care of that afterwards, or tomorrow if you want. You know where I work?
I do.
Come see me and I'll give you a check.
Thank you.
But that's the only way I can support this. And those are the only two that we support is the Theater Fest, if they expand it, and the senior center. That's just my opinion.
Any other comments?
Yeah, I see why we wouldn't support any of these organizations when we are willing to pay $600,000 to a marketing company just for the sake of raising TOT. What good does it make raising the TOT if we don't show up when our community needs us? These are all wonderful organizations. The PCP, the Theater Fest, because it's different from the PCPA, it's gonna be here years to come. They do great marketing throughout a whole summer whenever they have not only their summer program, but also any other programs. That's marketing right there. That is coming out of a one-time investment of $300,000 over the course of 3 years. I'm not gonna go into the benefit of having performance spaces available, which, by the way, I would, if I had one request, would be to have removable seats, because sometimes those concerts call for dancing instead of standing. The senior center staff and board of directors have done a wonderful job of showing us everything that they do. My one thing that I would say regarding the 4th of July celebration, and it's a great time every time that we have it. Everybody shows up to the parade. We don't have to drive to Santa Maria or Santa Barbara or anywhere else to enjoy a wonderful celebration, because we have it in our backyards at Lot 72 or at the Mission. If we choose to pay the $5 fee to get in to an organization that supports all sorts of wonderful projects year-round right here in our community. The one thing that I'm not comfortable with is receiving the drink and the tickets in exchange for supporting. I don't want it to look like we're using taxpayer money to buy us very nice seats and drinks for the fireworks show, but I would love to have those go to volunteers, or there's lots of deserving people out there that could use those tickets, that do a lot for our community and get nothing in return. But other than that, yeah, it's clear that I support all of these causes. Again, what is the point of raising all of these tax money on TOT and sales taxes if we're not gonna use it for our community when they need it?
Any other comments? Were you? Well, no, it looked like you were getting ready to say something, so.
I don't think I need to make a comment. I think we're sitting okay financially. And I would make a motion, at least for a discussion, that we approve all 3 requests of the Theater Fest, the Senior Center, and the fireworks show.
I will second that motion.
We have a roll call, please.
Councilmember Clark,
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Infante,
Yes.
Councilmember Aruna,
Yes.
Councilmember Thomas,
Yes.
Mayor Urick,
Yes.
motion passes 4-1.
Thank you, Councilmember Clark, for your donation.
My pleasure.
I was gonna do the same thing, took him thunder.
Do you think anyone will remember?
I think that,
Could you make a motion on the last item, on the waiver? I know
do we need to make a motion on it, or can we just take that off? Because it's gonna be handled. That's the pirate one. Can we just?
Oh, we just vote no.
Okay. No, he only voted for 3. We only voted.
No, I'm saying if you're taking the 11, number
Yes.
11 by itself, or number 12, 11 by itself.
I think we can just take 11 off of the calendar, can we not?
Well, Councilmember Clark made a generous gesture on that. Council still needs to take action one way or another on it because it's on the agenda.
Okay, so for item number 11, is there a motion to not, I guess that would be it, to not fund it?
Just to table the matter.
Table the matter?
I move that we table the matter for item 11.
I'll second that.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Infante,
Yes.
Councilmember Aruna,
Yes.
Councilmember Thomas,
Yes.
Mayor Urick,
Yes,
motion passes 5-0.
thank you. I think with that, that is the end of the meeting. Thank you all for being here, and the meeting is adjourned at 8:22.